Time to meet this week's nominee for the 2013 NAB AFL Rising Star Award. Aaron Mullett is now in the running to be recognised as this year's NAB AFL Rising Star. Following his nomination, Mullett's junior club, Hobart, will receive $1,000 cash and a footy resources pack thanks to NAB. To find out more, visit nab.com.au/AFL.
Half-time at Blundstone Arena in North Melbourne with their noses in front 7-8-50. The Sydney Swans 5-6-36. They lead it by 14 points, the Kangaroos. Tarrant with a couple, 3 for Bolton for the Sydney Swans. Principal possession winners Cunnington and Wells with 16 apiece. Swallow, their skipper's been busy, and Malcheski with 15 disposals for the Sydney Swans. Andrew Welsh is down inside the North Melbourne rooms and he has Daniel Wells with him right now.
A great start personally by yourself. It looks like a real point that you're trying to lower your vision coming into the forward line and not bombing into the Sydney Swans defenders.
Oh, especially when they got a man back, and also with the win as well. Teams are going to probably think we're going to bomb it in, but they will drop off us pretty easy. But if we lower our eyes, and there's always players there, but if we got one-on-ones, we'll get it in there. Big peach.
And last week you had a great start, fell away in the second half, so that's going to be a real focus now at half-time?
Yeah, that's the challenge. We had a good start, like you said, but they're a super team. Both teams, Geelong and Sydney, so they're going to come out just as hard. So, you know, hopefully we learn from last week.
Great, all the best for the second half. Thanks, mate.
Good on you, Welshie, down there with Daniel Wells. They look best when they've run North Melbourne, and they look best when they're running through that man, don't they?
Without a doubt. I mean, it's great. It's that risk-reward football that North Melbourne do exceptionally well. I think the key to beating Sydney is being unpredictable. So Sydney love clamping down their direct opponents, love it when their direct opponents kick the ball long into their forward line. But Wells is the player who can really create that run. He's had the 16 disposals. Swans haven't necessarily gone a hard tag with him. Jared McVeigh went to Wells later in that second half, but he's certainly going to be a player to watch because he is the spark for them, and probably their most damaging player when he has the ball in their hands. So he's a real positive, and that just shows the class. I mean, Lindsay Thomas hasn't really got into the game, but when you're on the end of some of those hand passes, Baz, it's nice.
It was spectacular, wasn't it? That was the breathtaking football action of the first half right there. By contrast, Ben Cunnington also with 16 disposals in the first half, but a lot of contested footy, 10 contested possessions and 5 clearances, so he's been really tough in there where it's mattered. And
that was one of the early ones. He took the contested mark, and we almost thought it was Drew Petrie the way he attacked the footy, but we talked about earlier in the call, he was recruited to the club, almost an Adam Simpson type clone, and you saw the contested mark there, but also has the polish, uses the ball exceptionally well, and has been driving the ball inside forward 50. Another one that the Swans will need to get on top of if they're to win this game.
Are they doing enough, Tom? Will they win it from here, North Melbourne?
Well, you would have said at half-time last week they would have won the game, so still reserving my judgment.
Yeah,
Baz.
hard to know, isn't it? Great game of footy it is. The Sydney Swans trailing North Melbourne by 14 points a break. And when we come back, Mark McVeigh will talk Essendon and that wonderful win last night. It's the Kangaroos in front at Blundstone at half-time.
People say things and they're untrue, and you know you've got truth on your side, you go hard, and when you get your opportunity, you tell the whole truth. And when the truth comes out, I think I'll be in a very, very good position in Southwards Football Club. I'm the coach of the Essendon Football Club. Until someone tells me I'm not, then I'm the coach of the Essendon Football Club.
Half-time here at Blundstone Arena, but that was the dramatic post-match press conference from James Hird after a dramatic 4-point victory at the end of, dare I say it, Mark, a very dramatic couple of days for Essendon and their coach. What was your reaction seeing your former teammate and coach with that post-match press conference last night?
It was interesting. He used the word truth 3 or 4 times, so very strong and definitive answers, weren't they, from the coach of the Essendon Bombers. Hirdy, very considered in his response at a lot of times, and there's a lot of emotion there, and that's James being as honest as he possibly can be in the situation that he finds himself in, and you can't help to look at him and think, I really believe you and what you're saying, and can't wait for your response.
Well, it was defiant and it was very strong, that's for sure. You know him better than most. I mean, he doesn't appear to anyone to be the sort of guy who's not going to say things that he doesn't absolutely mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that at some stage the report will come out and we'll understand and know what went on at Essendon into 2012, and he'll be accountable for his answers. So James must know something more than what we all know, and we can only wait to find out. Of course, he will be interviewed during the week by ASDA, and can't wait to see what comes out of that.
We'll find out soon enough, that's for sure, but it's dominated the headlines. Lindsay Thomas has had a good start to the season, 5 goals last week. He's kicked 1 this afternoon for 10 for the season, and he recently became a father for the second time.
At the bottom it is Thomas. Thomas left them behind and got it on the boot. What a goal!
Lindsay's good form has come about from a good pre-season. He did most of it, which is a change for Lindsay. At least he was out there for most of the training sessions.
His work rate's probably second to none.
He sets the standard down there with our forward pressure.
His forward pressure's been outstanding so far this year as well.
If he's up and about, we're normally turning the footy over, and he's the main instigator down there.
He's a real passionate player, so he gives it his all.
Could have gone to him first time, didn't, and might just about regret it now. They've worked it to Thomas, and this should be the response. It is.
Lindsay's had his well-documented challenges in the past, and a great sign for any person who can acknowledge they've got some issues and work through them and come out the other side.
Thomas, time, looking for 5. What a glorious day out for Lindsay Thomas.
I think Lindsay's moved out into a hotel now that he's got a new baby in the house. He's come to training and he looks pretty fresh, so I can't work that out. I've got 2 little ones myself.
Couldn't imagine Buff would be getting up too often during the night. I think that'd be Hannah's job doing all that, so I reckon Buff would probably be getting more sleep than the baby.
Popular man is Lindsay Thomas. I'm alongside Mark McVeigh. Well, same question that I asked Tom Harley. Who do you like from here, Mark?
Pick North during the week, and I think they'll learn from last week and keep that strong performance and win the game.
We'll find out soon enough. It's North Melbourne at their unofficial home, Blundstone Arena in beautiful Hobart. They lead the reigning premiers, the Sydney Swans, by 14 points. Second half, not far away.
Sunday at 10, Game Day sets the footy agenda with Richo, Jimmy Bartell, James Kelly, Adam Selwood and Mark McVeigh. On Footy Flashbacks, we look back on the life and career of Lethal Lee Matthews.
I was that brutal and callous. I look back at that young person, so I don't like him much.
Then it's all eyes on the G, Collingwood and Hawthorn in a Sunday Arvo blockbuster. And in Adelaide, you don't want to miss Showdown 34. Sunday means footy, and you'll see it all on 7.
Half-time in beautiful Hobart. And, well, I did say at the start of the match it was the most picturesque ground in the competition, Tom, and a sight like that.
Hard to argue with that. That looks like a very tall ship, Baz, on the Derwent River.
Beautifully said. Very knowledgeable out, Tom Harley. It's a picturesque scoreline for North Melbourne, 7-8, 5-6. This year, Origin Energy, the official energy partner of the AFL, will help footy fans follow their passion by kicking in $200 towards their 2013 club membership. Visit originenergy.com.au/AFL for more information. Let's get down to Andrew Welch. We'll do that in just a moment as the players get settled and ready for the start of this second half. North Melbourne by 14 points, looking for their first win of season 2013. Goldstein then to get things going. Swallow the skipper. He's been terrific this afternoon, as he has been generally to start the year. The ball fisted forward inside 50. Roberts Thompson's got some work to do. Maybe carried forward there by Hansen. Umpire said there was enough swivel on the tackle to make it legal, and we'll have it bounced inside 50.
Zeeble starting deep forward on Armstrong. Really big test for the young man.
Ball goes up, bottom of the pack. O'Keefe. He somehow got the footy above his head, and then it came out Cunnington's way. Couple of goes to release the football, and then eventually off a couple of steps he moved it forward. Bastanak pulled off the footy. Here's Petrie looking for a handball out. He gets it across to Mullet, who drifts the ball forward and just to behind.
Similar start to the first half here. North Melbourne going forward early. Both coaches would have just loved a lift in intensity. The Swans' defence spreading a bit more defensively, perhaps.
McVeigh to Malcheski. It's a long kick. Breeze is freshened too, it's got to be said. It's really sprung up. The ball now pretty close to the line. Hine got the football. And that's out of bounds on the full, is it?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe Jude Bolton, the last boot to touch that one. Hine called to go. He does. He hugs the line, goes in the Petrie direction, might be a little wide. Either way, Malcheski there.
He was huge in the second quarter. Nick Malcheski racked up 11 disposals off half-back. Started on the wing. Atley's gone to him at this early stage.
Malcheski again close to the line. Pushing forward. Grimer, back of the pack. There's Goods. Ferrito gathers, kicks it back in the direction that it came. Gee, that's a heavy contest. McGlynn, a couple of tough customers going both ways. They both look to be all right. Cunnington so hard at the football, McGlynn as well, and that was terrific footy.
It's perfect. Both eyes on the ball. The spoiler in particular didn't look at his direct opponent. That's a great contest.
So as it was to start the match, a bit of an arm wrestle here at the start of the third term, close to the line. Swallow got it from Cunnington. Over again.
Guys, down here on the ground, the wind really has picked up going to the right of screen. It's going to be interesting to see the Kangaroos' mentality. They were 41 points up against Geelong last week. Couldn't get the job done. A big plus, though, is Drew Petrie's only had the 4 touches. He starts clunking them. They're going to go a long way to winning this.
Here's a chance to clunk one for Mike Pike. It went straight through his hands. At the back, Reid, though, he dishes across to Malcheski. It's McGlynn, in fact, and McGlynn has kicked a goal. The first of the third quarter, it goes Sydney's way.
Just stays involved here, Ben McGlynn. He's got great burst speed there, pushing away from Grimer. He was the unfortunate player to miss out on the premiership last year, but he's come back in pretty good form this year to start the season off.
Goldstein again with Swallow. Bursting through is Kennedy. Here's McVeigh. So the old stage is starting to get going now. It's a long one. How's this going to bounce? It bounced to the left of the goalpost and just to behind. 7-9 North Melbourne. The Swans have cut the gap to less than 10 points. Sydney 6-6. And Brad Scott not looking particularly pleased in the coach's box at the moment.
Yeah, centre clearance is the key. The North Melbourne side were right on top in that first half, but that was far too easy for the Swans on that occasion.
Zeebel's been okay, hasn't he? We were worried in moments, really. He clutched that hamstring in a similar position to where he's got the footy now, but it's been okay, and that's very heavy. Ferrito into Kennedy. I don't think he intended to cause any harm, but it was late.
It was late, there's no doubt about it. I think once you commit like that, you really almost, I don't know how you pull out, to be honest, Mark, but that's the rules, and I don't think too many people will be disputing that.
And this is not the start North wanted. They've given away a couple of frees, turning the ball over. It's not what they needed going into this second half, especially after their second half last week against Geelong.
It's an 8-point margin at the moment. This to make it just 2. Kicked 29 goals. 29 goals, 13 last season. And how about this? The All-Australian has got it back to a 2-point ball game.
Well, here's a look here. You just seen he did actually, I mean, he could have pulled out of that. He raised the elbow, not to the point where it's a reportable offence, but there's certainly 2 actions there in 50 metres for sure.
Mumford and Goldstein. Here is Zeeble trying to bang his way through. That was a tough one. Hine did well. He got it across to Zeeble. He goes again, Hine, trying to apply a tackle on Goods. They're really motoring forward here. McGlynn, he's kicked a goal already in this term, down towards Reid. Now pressure for McMahon. Handball backwards. He got it to Thompson. Thompson across to Grimer, who's clearing kick. Has it stayed inside? It's come off hands. It'll stay in a dangerous position, but that's not a bad result for North. A boundary throw-in.
The Swans have stepped up their intensity. They're hunting the ball carrier. They're closing down their outlets and making it really difficult for North Melbourne to get the ball out.
Goldstein again down to Swallow. It was touch ball, as you heard. The back there pushed across by Matner. Now a long one inside 50. Bouncing ball. Boundary throw-in, dangerous spot yet again.
Tom, in this situation, when they got a bit of a run on it early in the third quarter, you've had to leave for most of the game. What should North Melbourne do in this situation?
They need to take risks, Spike. It's pretty simple. I mean, they're playing into Sydney's hands here by going one-on-one. They've got to get the ball offline like they did in the first half.
Brilliant hit out down towards O'Keefe. It was gathered then by Thompson. His clearing kick, not a particularly good one. Hard work for Hansen, but he's done brilliantly. He releases Mullet, who has a couple of bounces. The rising star through the middle of the ground. He looks upfield and out in front. That's a clever mark by Thomas. Featured at half-time. He's kicked a goal already. 10 for the season. He'll go back here and perhaps kick for number 11.
Into the teeth of the breeze, we heard Andrew Wells saying it's pushing to the right of screen, but much better there from Mullet in particular, taking the game on, having a bounce, lowering his eyes, dropping it in. That's North Melbourne to a treat.
So they dearly love one here just to get it back. Ascendancy. He kicks for his second goal. He pumps the air, and that's good stuff by North Melbourne. They do answer. It's back to 8 points.
Perfect example of North Melbourne lowering their eyes, making sure that they're using those small forward targets. And we know that Lindsay Thomas is a fast forward, leading forward, and he kicked the goal beautifully to get the pressure off North Melbourne a little bit.
Pike against Goldstein. Comes out the back to Jack, who sends it inside 50. Dangerous one here. Grimer, he couldn't mark, so it was always going to be hard work. Might be a push in the back there for McGlynn. Perhaps a little lucky. Bastanak right there with him. And it's going to be bounced inside 50.
Or Dave Swallow on the, Andrew Swallow on the boundary, getting strapped up there. Really important. He's one of the key drivers for North Melbourne. Can't afford to have him off the ground for too much longer.
Mike Pike fisting forward. Wells ran onto it, and then McVeigh ran into him. Free kick, McMillan. Close to the line. He decides to stay on the outer side of the ground. Pike, not quite. Terrific recovery by the Canadian. Handball was probably a little optimistic looking for Hanbury, and it's knocked over and out. There's the skipper of North Melbourne, and this was where the injury appeared to occur.
Yeah, just saw the foot just give there, a little bit of a buckle.
Jack turns around and boots the ball back inside 50. Reid pushing off. Here's McVeigh. Handball for McGlynn. The umpire says holding the ball. It was a brilliant tackle. Well done, Mullet. That was superb.
He has been good, Mullet. Great name. But, really backing up his performance from last week as the rising star.
He's got genuine pace too. You've seen him through the middle there, really take them on, and then closing down Ben McGlynn running into an open goal.
Yep. They're the type of players you really want to play within the back line. Desperate to do the defensive work, but then have the polish to finish off offensively.
O'Keefe's kick, it was touch ball, so no mark for Everett. Quickly then Hanbury sending it to a very dangerous position. McGlynn did the roving. Here's McVeigh. He's had time to steady. He throws it on the right boot, and McVeigh has kicked a goal. They come again, the Sydney Swans.
Fantastic handball there by Ben McGlynn. Jared McVeigh, deadly inside 50, usually finishes those ones off. They've got to watch that North Melbourne, those small rovers getting inside 50.
So back to a 2-point ball game again. The Sydney Swans challenge is well and truly on here in Kennedy.
Ball, no genuine attempt.
Gee, wrapped up in a tough tackle. Well, you've got to swing the arms, I guess, is what the umpire's saying there.
You've got to make the attempt. It's the old under eights, just pump it into the, as if you're feigning the hand pass. That's what they want to see.
And there was just nothing, was there? Pike got back and took a good mark. Now Malcheski. He goes towards the outer side. It's out in front of Goods. Well done by McMahon. He knocked it cleverly for McMillan. And now backwards, the kick comes from Goldstein. Comes for Goldstein from Ferrito. To the middle of the ground, and Atley. Now Grimer steps inside. From the middle of the ground, a long kick down in the Petrie direction. Didn't quite get there. Gathered by Mattner. He released somehow. Nick Smith. Gang tackle. Bounce coming inside 50.
Kick from Grimer just needed a metres. Well played by Teddy Richards, standing a couple of metres in front of Drew Petrie. Good defensive work.
8-7 Sydney, North Melbourne 8-9. 2-point ball game. Here's McMillan. Concedes some ground to Ferrito. Sends it up towards the top of the square. There's no mark. Now Armstrong. Important ball, this one. It bounces. It runs on. Grimer tracks the football. Did it nicely. Handballs into space. Give not so good there. Tight against the line by Gibson. He kicked towards half forward. Zeeble got to be a free kick there.
Yeah, the second offence there. Affected the score well there, Marty Mattner, but it was the fall into Zeeble's back, no doubt about that.
That hamstring, it's been a remarkable recovery,
yeah,
Tom.
He's been fantastic. Without him, they would have lacked a bit of midfield depth, but he's been a significant contributor.
Thompson sends it long. It's a high ball. It clears the pack. Luke Parker there. He's going to try and get this over the line. That's exactly what he had intended, and he got there. And then the quick kick in is with Armstrong. So now the counter-attack might be Loose man in the middle of the ground is Bolton. Turns, assesses the options. Out wide, close to the line, mark taken by Hanbury. Wants to move it quickly. They've done well there, North, pushing back just to hold the Swans up a little. Hanbury's kick, a high one. Tough one for the attacking side to mark. Out of bounds. Very throw-in, probably a fair result for both teams. I reckon they'll both be pleased with that.
I'd rather see Sam Reid down the line. There was a small down the line. He needs to get over quicker to allow that quick kick so he can be and contest that ball when it comes down the line.
He's been very quiet this afternoon. Now Parker back for Richards. Doesn't kick many goals. He sets it up towards Everett. Almost. He couldn't quite grab. Clearing kick by Cunnington. He sends it out wide. Here's Zeeble. Armstrong caught in front. He did that brilliantly. He gave it to the skipper, did Zeeble, and now Tarrant. He lays it off the side of the boot. Might have a bit too much on it. Well done by Malcheski and McMillan. They fought hard there over the line for a throw-in. Sydney trailing by 3 points. 11 minutes remaining in this third term.
Swallow out there, the captain for North Melbourne, back out on field, which would please his teammates and in particular coach Brad Scott.
Goldstein, he's had to do a power of work this afternoon. McGlynn, brilliant for Kieran Jack. He's a step inside 50 when he kicks anticlimactic out of bounds on the full.
It's normally really dangerous running inside 50 on his left foot. He's really, I mean, he's turned himself into an absolute elite player of the competition now, Kieran Jack. He started with 18 votes in the Coaches Association Award so far, so he is right at the top of his game.
They've really lifted Sydney inside 50s in this third quarter, 10 to make it 11-4. Here is the reigning best and fairest. Kennedy sends it high towards the top of the square. Reid, Everett, he gets the footy out. Hanbury around the body to put them in front. The reigning premiers have taken the lead.
Might not be the grand final, but a very similar setup to the Malcheski goal in the grand final that Hanbury picked out. But they have great structure, don't they, around their contests. They know exactly where their teammates are and they're starting to really exert themselves on this game, the Swans.
2 goals now for Daniel Hanbury, and here's Kieran Jack. He gets the ball moving Sydney's way yet again. Mumford, Everett, both instrumental in that last attacking thrust. It is all Sydney at the moment.
Thank you.
And there was a legitimate attempt to handball that time by Atley, so a bounce right between the attacking edge of the centre square and the 50. Comes out North Melbourne's way. Bastanak across to Mullet. Important for North here to steady, but Armstrong, he read that well. He worked off Adams, and the kick for McVeigh, very good. Jetta might be on here. He didn't keep running. He should have kept going. The kick towards the attacking zone. It's fisted away from Mumford. It falls at the back of the pack for Bastanak. O'Keefe stood in the road. That was courage. Malcheski inside the centre square with the breeze at his back. He sends it long, very long, but offline. Sydney by 4 points.
Sydney's set-up is starting to really strangle North Melbourne. They're not allowing those outlets. They're making sure that they have to kick down the line to a contest. Rebound it, quick entries back into the forward 50, putting heaps of pressure on the defence.
How much of a factor do you think this breeze is now, Tom?
Well, I mean, the setups look really strong for the Swans at the moment, but you'd be naive to think the wind's not playing a part, but that would be selling this in short, just dominating in all facets at the minute.
Jack did brilliantly. He got away from that tackle. He kept moving forward. Well done there by Ferrito to get a fist on Goods was there, he was lurking, and that was a desperate effort by the talented defender. Michael Ferrito has been a terrific player, 196 games. He's been a star for them, a really solid defender over many years. Sam Gibson's clearing kick only as far as Richards, or perhaps this man Hanbury. He gathers, low one, McVeigh not the mark, he handballs backwards. Another opportunity for Hanbury. He sends this one long, and again, it's way off target, so they're wasting some opportunities now, the Sydney Swans.
Yeah, they certainly are. Have had a couple of shots on goal, but just to highlight the dominance, 14-4 inside 50s this quarter in favour of the Swans. Disposals about the same, but just surging the ball consistently forward.
McMahon, Zeeble, here's McGlynn. He's already kicked a goal in this term for his second. It bends back, and Benny McGlynn loves it, and Sydney's lead extends. They lead by 11 points. Benny McGlynn with 2 goals in this term, 5 disposals, and Jared McVeigh It's been a big afternoon for the McVeys. Jared McVey with 8 disposals and a goal in this third quarter. Sydney by 11 points. Chance here for Harper to get something back for North Melbourne. Blazers away. Let's go down to Andrew.
Yeah, the wind really has picked up down here this quarter, favouring the Sydney Swans. Their work rate has lifted, but the wind is definitely helping them. As a North Melbourne player, you have to think, well, we let the game get away from us last week. What do we have to do to stay in this one?
Armstrong sends it long. Well done by Parker. He read that well, and Hanbury, who's in everything at the moment. Handball over the top for Parker to keep things moving for Sydney. Inside 50. McMahon, terrific grab. He's taken some wonderful saving marks this afternoon. That was brilliantly done. Hansen moves the ball quickly. Goldstein, the small man, Hanbury in front. Handball to Parker. Handball to Armstrong. Now it's with Mumford. Back to Armstrong. He got it away to Mumford. Well done. They worked it to Parker. Brilliantly smothered. That was clever play by Thompson. Zeeble got a hand in there. Now Wells. The counter-attack is on to Harper. Harper lowers the eyes this time and finds Tarrant. North, they really need a goal into the breeze, and that's a clever kick. It not paid the mark. Gibson almost had enough of it. Nick Smith now, defensive 50. He runs away for Sydney. Important ball this one. 50-50 contest. Everett's got 2 to beat. He's lost out. Only just. Hansen's kicked forward. Gibson's got it. On half forward. He looks upfield, holds up into the breeze. Well done by the experienced Marty Matner.
Yeah, terrible result there for North Melbourne. Had the break, had Robbie Tarrant out for an uncontested entry. One that got away.
Armstrong, Bolton, ball over the line, it'll be thrown in.
The Kangaroos look like they're just lacking a little bit of run at the moment. They've activated their sub. He's coming on now, right? And hopefully he can provide that run that they're probably just missing this quarter to get them back in this game.
We just got an example of North Melbourne busting down that zone, handballing through, getting the runners through and opening up the play.
Daniel Wells has been terrific this afternoon. That kick not so good, 20 disposals, and he's kicked a goal. Cunnington with 21 and a goal. And Swallow, their skipper. And we saw Sideline just a few moments ago with 20 disposals. They really have been the driving force for North Melbourne. And they're going to have to find something again, maybe a 3rd or 4th gear. Matner's kick out wide. And Glenn paddling. Was he taken without the football? I think he was.
He played that well. It was a good chase there by Lockie Hansen, showing his speed, but McGlynn's been important this third quarter, really starting to exert himself.
Been really lively, hasn't he, Mike Pike? Sort of flew, didn't really get off the ground in the end. Goldstein in a bit of trouble. Well done. They fought back hard here. It started with Mullet. They work it across from Thompson to Swallow. Clearing kick towards the line, and over it goes.
The Swans are doing really well, but they've got 2 players up their sleeve, and that's Adam Goods and Lewis Jetta. They haven't had a lot of the ball today, but we know if they get their opportunity, they can take the game by the scruff of the neck and win the game for the Swans.
10-point ball game. It's Sydney leading. Malcheski sends it inside 50. Arms and legs going everywhere. It falls at the back. McMillan needs to be careful here. Brilliant tackle, Reid. Umpire lenient over the line, rush behind.
Great test for the Kangaroos now. Sydney have certainly brought their game. They're starting to get around the contest. They're playing on their terms, which is in a contest. It's going to take some smart heads, some courageous heads and some wise heads for North Melbourne to start to take some risks again, put some speed into the game.
Hansen sends it back towards the direction from which it came. McMillan started it off. McMillan again in the back pocket. About 5.5 to play in this third term. The breeze certainly has freshened Sydney's way. Here's Jetta. Haven't seen much of him. It's a live wire opportunity, and the live wire delivers. Sydney by 17 points.
Just an example there of Lewis Jetta being by himself in the forward 50. One of the most dangerous players in the AFL, by himself, never really misses a goal and punishes you every time.
Just his 6th disposal in nearly 3/4 of football, but that's right, you just cannot let him out of your sights. A goal now. Kennedy moving things forward inside 50s, 18-6 in favour of Sydney in this term. What about that from Goods? He used Everett, now trying to crash his way through Matner. He did it okay in the end. Parker's kick, though, to the sub who's just come on. He's cut it off well right. Cunnington, Bolton, it's coming back in for Sydney. A long one down in the Mike Pike direction. A swinging arm from Thompson. Here's Reid. He can go short to McVeigh, and McVeigh marks.
And a very accurate shot at goal, you'd have to say, Mark. One of the Swans players where you're very comfortable with the ball in his hand inside forward 50.
One of the strengths of the Swans is their resting midfielders get forward and they kick them goals, which is really important. When they're down, they're not just there to have a rest, they're there to put scoreboard pressure on.
6 goals 4 to 1 goal 3 in this term. Sydney's way. Mark McVeigh coming off 4 goals last week against the Gold Coast at home, and they've made it 7 for the term. Sydney dominating now. McVeigh's everywhere. I might have given that goal to you then, Mark.
Yeah, I was happy with that. Haven't kicked 4 goals for a long time.
Jared McVeigh with 4 last week, and now Sydney by 23 points. A long one inside 50. Mumford came with a big run at that pack and destroyed the ball over the line. A boundary throw incoming.
Tell us about your brother, Mark. He took the captaincy last year. Really looks like he's developed his game and thrives on the leadership.
He does. Strong leader, strong opinion about the game and also the way that the club should play football, and he's certainly in terrific form at the start of 2013 season.
4 goals last week, 2 this afternoon. The ball's inside 50. Another veteran, Jude Bolton, bounced, kicked 8 for the term, the Swans.
Tells the story there on the side there. It's the same names. It's Bolton, it's McVeigh, Malcheski's been good, Hanbury, Kennedy, Parker really starting to exert themselves.
4 goals now for Jude Bolton. A wonderful performance by the veteran. It equals his career high. Roberts-Thompson sends it back towards the 50 yet again. Mumford controlled that brilliantly. Oh, what about this? Adam Goods, he releases Everett. Can they kick 9 for the term? Oh, the reigning premiers can.
Adam Goods, Lewis Jetta starting to get their hands on the footy. They've all resulted in goals, bursting from stoppages. North Melbourne have got their hands on their knees and look to be like, what do we do next, Tom? How do we get out of this? It's a shocking feeling to have.
It really is a sinking feeling, particularly when aside of the quality of Sydney. I mean, they're the reigning premiers, and people have said their form hasn't been outstanding to start the year. If they keep this up, they'll be 3-zip and sitting pretty right at the top of the ladder. So some tough times for Brad Scott in this back half of this game.
You can really see the confidence of the Swans team. At times, football can be a simple science. Get it in the forward 50, the more opportunities on goal you have. They've had 21 inside 50s this quarter, and that's definitely been resulting in this high-scoring opportunities. Here goes another one now.
Yeah, make it 22. Here it comes, the delivery from McVeigh. Not as good that time. Everett, they've done it well, North Melbourne. They got it across to Wells. Dangerous, though. Release from Atley. Not convincing. Armstrong's got the footy. Tarrant grabs him front on. And a bounce will be not a bad result. 9 goals for Sydney. North Melbourne 1 goal 3 in this third term. And it's almost as though in all 3 games they've played, they've wanted to be challenged. When they've challenged, they've said, all right, we're the reigning premiers, let's go. And they've done it. Roberts-Thompson with a good mark inside defensive 50.
And a bit of deja vu for the North Melbourne players also going in at half-time. Reasonably comfortable with where they sit in the game, and sure, they played good sides, Collingwood and Geelong, and now Sydney, but they've really been put to the sword in the third quarter. That's something that desperately needs to be addressed.
What a transformation over this game. North Melbourne led by 14 points at half-time. Certainly wasn't over by any stretch of the imagination, but you felt North were going okay. Well, Sydney with completely different ideas. 35 points now their lead with just over 2 minutes to play in the third term.
And North Melbourne supporters will be asking, what do we do in this situation? Do we slow it down, or should we try and keep attacking because we're behind? It's a really tough situation to be in. You've got that sinking feeling that you can't stop the run. You've got to get your hands on the ball and try and get a little bit of possession back with North Melbourne.
Kennedy to O'Keefe. close to the boundary line when he kicks on. Mumford did well against Ferrito. A handball back inside to Everett. Now Reid. They've got runners everywhere. Kennedy didn't like it from the moment he kicked it. It bounces. It might still be a score here. Goods has hit that pack very hard. Well done, McMahon, reaching it off the ground. It was dangerous. Goods comes again. Back to McGlynn. He's kicked 2 in this term. Don't tell me from there. That's a brilliant goal. Sydney have kicked 10 for the quarter.
Ben McGlynn kicks his 3rd goal, snap over the shoulder. Much important player to the Swans Football Club, and they are just running away with this. No pressure whatsoever coming out of the midfield.
10-4 to 1-3 in this 3rd term. Jared McVeigh with 11 disposals and 2 goals, and Benny McGlynn 7 disposals and 3 goals in this quarter alone. They've been breathtaking.
Well, Mark, you asked the question on what you do as North Melbourne. You can't get into a wrestle with the Swans. You can't afford to play one-on-one footy. You've just got to back your instincts, get it out in space and take a punt.
Swallow just trying desperately to get the ball forward for the Sydney Swans. It was just kick and hope. And Grundy, he read it well off the boot. McVeigh, disposal number 22 coming up.
12 for the term. He's been absolutely fantastic.
They might be happy just to slow things down here, the Sydney Swans. They have absolutely dominated this quarter. Footy gathered by Kennedy. Now O'Keefe close to the line. He kicks. There might be time for one more yet. Bolton. Handball inside. Everett cruising past Reid. He looks upfield, and on for him is Adam Goods. How good is that?
Very. Is the short answer to that. It's
I think that look from the coach said it all there, Brad Scotty, just a raise of the eyes as if to say, well, they're just too good at the moment.
At the moment they are, without a doubt, and Adam Goods has been a significant contributor in this quarter.
11 goals for the term Adam Goods is shooting for here. At half-time, they had just 5 goals, 6 on the board. Adam Goods' kick on its way. They've now got 16 goals, 10. 11 for the 3rd term for the reigning premiers, with 11 seconds remaining in the 3rd term.
It's just really broken down defensively for North Melbourne. They haven't been able to cover that spread. The Swans are kicking it precisely into the North Melbourne's defence. Adam Goods has lifted, Lewis Jetta has lifted, Sam Reid had a hand in that goal, and Jared McVeigh is dominating in the middle. So North Melbourne haven't got many answers at the moment, and the coaching staff will be scrambling at 3/4 time to try and just slow the bleed.
Well, the loose man across half-back, which worked really effectively for them in the first half, players like Ferrito just haven't been able to plug those holes, and it's been raining goals here for the Sydney Swans.
The problem here for North Melbourne now, after a couple of what you'd consider very disappointing losses, but very honourable losses, this now is on the verge of becoming demoralising. And they will be, you would think, 0-3 to start the season. And as we heard at the top, it's very, very difficult from there. Petrie's kick on the siren. 3/4 time, a masterclass by the reigning premiers. People wondered how they were going to start 2013 and their premiership defence. Well, we'll tell you how they're going. They just kicked 11 goals 4 in the 3rd quarter against North Melbourne's 1 goal 3, and they lead at 3/4 time by 47 points. After the break, we'll hear from the premiership coach, John Longmire. It is Sydney in command, 16-10. North Melbourne, 8-11. Saturday Arvo footy from Bluntstone in Hobart.
The 2013 V8 Supercars Championship is wide open after what was a brutal weekend in Tasmania.
Reynolds up on the wall. Oh, huge moment. Oh, massive crash.
After 5 years, the V8 Supercars now make the long-awaited return to Pukekohe Park Raceway for the ITM 400 Auckland. And the Kiwis are out to prove who's boss on their home soil.
De Geers is the Clipsal champion of 2013.
The New Zealanders are uniting.
Look out, New Zealand. Here comes Fabian Coulthard.
Coverage of the ITM 400 Auckland continues tomorrow at 10 Eastern, with races 8 and 9 of the championship live on 7.
Stunning 3rd term by the reigning premiers. It's left the blue and whites a little shell shock. North Melbourne 8-11, Sydney 16-10. The Kangaroos staring at their 3rd consecutive defeat to start this season 2013. Let's go down to Andrew Welsh.
Fantastic quarter there, John. Kangaroos the last couple of weeks have faded away in the games. Was that mentioned at halftime?
No, it wasn't. I mean, we just wanted to keep concentrating on what we wanted to do, which was, one of the things we wanted to focus on was get their uncontested marks from the first half down a bit. That worked, but we've got another quarter to go.
And it can be a simple game sometimes. The more times you get it in the forward 50, the more opportunities you get, and it definitely happened in that quarter.
Yeah, no doubt, but there's some structural things we need to get right. Once we got our intensity and our chase up, it made a big difference.
All right, thanks. Good luck for the last quarter.
John Longmire with Andrew Welsh. The inside 50s that Welshie referred to there. Sydney 24, North Melbourne 9, and some other key stats from that third term. Benny McGlynn, just 7 disposals for 3 goals. That's some sort of efficiency, isn't it? Jared McVeigh, 12 disposals and a couple of goals. It's like he wants to show off for his brother in the commentary box today.
He doesn't need to do that. He's a premiership skipper, but contested possessions 47 to 38 in favour of the Swans. That's the intensity Coach Longmire was talking about.
An outstanding term, 11 goals. The Sydney Swans, the Kangaroos just won. It was a 61-point turnaround after North led by 14 points at half-time. 47 points is the lead now as we start this final term for the Sydney Swans. Bottom of that pack, Zeeble. He's fought on gallantly. He looked to be just about gone for the game. Goldstein, another one who's fought on against the odds and against the numbers. Zeeble again, still trying to crash his way through. You get the feeling Brad Scott's just asked them for a supreme effort, for some intent to show something. Mike Pike gathered that footy snap around the corner out of bounds.
The danger for North Melbourne now is will this blow out? They've obviously dropped off in second halves. We know that, but it'll if they get blown out in this last quarter, it's going to damage their confidence for the next couple of rounds.
Here's Wells. Farito, he danced inside one. Reid nearly got him from behind. High ball towards half back. And that was a good mark taken by Nick Smith. So Malcheski running on the outside for him. McVeigh, possession number 23. Kennedy's got 22, and he's kicked a goal as well. And Hanbury with 20 disposals and 2 goals. And geez, we've seen them a couple of weeks in a row. Their midfielders getting a lot of the footy, but kicking goals as well.
And Sam Reid on screen there hasn't really been a factor so far this year, and that's upside really. And the other big upside's obviously the very big man in Kurt Tippett to come back in the back half of the year. So looking at 3 zips at the Swans, no doubt.
Here's Mumford. Rolled off. You heard umpire Rosebery say no push in the back, and again it'll be bounced.
Goldstein's trying really hard in the ruck, trying to get it to their advantage. Drew Petrie's only had the 5 possessions so far this game playing as a forward. Maybe they can try something, get him up into the ruck, provide some run and some leadership around the ball.
What do you want to see, Mark, from a North Melbourne point of view this quarter?
I think it's just more one-on-ones and make sure you lock it right down. You don't want the blowout. That's the danger here for North Melbourne. You want a real hard effort around the ball and make sure that you either break even or kick a few goals and get in front.
So the ball kicked towards half forward Bolton. That was clever. He looked as though he was going to lay it off to Jetta, but then went himself. Goods worked his way into the contest. Thompson stepped around one. Reid just got him from behind. McMahon. Handball backwards. Grimer's kick out for Mullet. He had to stretch. It was all right in the end. Malcheski was closing the gap, but the kick came away. That was pretty well done for Rito McMillan. Close to the line. He needs to be quick here now. Atley's little ball, not a good delivery. Taken and run away by Hanbury. The little dish is all right. And the mark after the McGlynn kick taken by McVeigh, who plays on quickly. Diving attempt by McMahon to get in the road. O'Keefe there. Getting him is Swallow. That was important. The ball will be bounced.
Good build-up there by the Swans. Just some precise kicking. It's obviously a swirly breeze out there on that last ball that went in, but certainly lowering their eyes and switching the ball up a bit more than what they were doing in the first half.
The ball bounced inside 50. Kennedy needs to make an attempt. We've seen him pinged a couple of times for not swinging the arm. Goods in there. Farito close to the line. He's tried hard for his team. Maybe carried forward there by Jetta, although Jetta ended up on the bottom of that pack, if you like. So I guess the umpire satisfied that there was enough roll. That's got to be one of the most difficult skills in football, when your momentum is taking you forward, to somehow not end up on your opponent's back.
Especially when they're 100 kilos.
Thompson was close to the line there. They did all right to keep the footy moving. Petrie, good grab. Now the quick one is on. Here's Hansen. He runs into a vacant 50. They need a goal, North, just to get something going. And at last, a goal for North Melbourne.
Well, you've got to be optimistic. If the Swans could kick the amount of goals they did in the third quarter going to that side of the ground, so can North Melbourne. So need to stay positive, need to play on quick, need to take some risks, not out of the game.
It was a full half an hour between goals for North Melbourne. They're trying to get moving forward here again through Wells. Just willing the ball forward, but McVeigh in the road again. Handball for Armstrong. And just going back to that third term, 11 goals for Sydney. Last time they kicked 11 goals in a quarter, back in 1995, round 5 against Adelaide. So doesn't happen all that often even for the reigning premiers. They got the football across here to McMillan. It came from Wells. He sends it long. How will this bounce? That's a very good kick. And McMillan has kicked 2 in a row now for North Melbourne.
Got to stay positive here, the Roos. Just saw actually with the ball come in there from McMillan. There is a bit on this breeze and drifted across the face as well. So that's 2, and we saw how important the centre clearance are. So not out of it. I mean, they're a long way back, but as I said, if the Swans can do that, so can the Kangas. That's got to be their mindset.
John Longmire on the phone. They're not happy with those 2 late goals. Obviously, the Swans broke down a little bit there. North Melbourne calm and collected around the contest then, used their hands, kept calm and kicked a nice goal.
So the last 2 goals of the game for North Melbourne, and another inside 50. Gee, that wasn't a mark, not paid. Well, perhaps it was touched. There's right on the bottom of the pack. It was hard to work out why no mark was. Well, there you go. It was touched off the boot.
And good explanation. It certainly had enough of it to be a mark, but umpire Foot explaining it very clearly.
So North Melbourne just showing a bit here in this final term. Kick around the body. Cunnington back towards full forward. Petrie, Richards, ball fisted over the line. It'll be thrown in beside the behind post for North. Sydney by 35 points. They led by 47 at 3/4 time after an 11-goal third term. A dominant display by the reigning premiers, and that was pretty well done by Hanbury in the end.
That's clever, isn't it?
He kept the eyes focused towards the boundary line as though he was trying to find an option to kick to, and then, just ran out of space.
Hey, what do you know? There's no space, yeah. In fact, I'll even kick it when I'm over the line.
Where did that come from? Oh, that's bad luck. Armstrong, well, called to go, you heard it. It bounces Petrie's way and then got away from Petrie, and Armstrong gets another attempt to get the ball over the line. Gee, they've liked that line in the last couple of moments, the Sydney Swans, and Armstrong relinquishing the kick duties immediately.
Did he relinquish, or did Marty say, hey, Tony, I'll better take this one. I've played a couple of 100 games.
I don't reckon he needed to be told. He just handed it over and said, away you go.
He didn't argue, I know that.
No, he gave it pretty quickly.
A couple of former Adelaide Crows and Mike Pike with a big mark. Sydney by 33 points. Kick forward by Nick Smith, and that's a good mark. Thompson. So as Tom said, they're not out of it here. 33 points. The breeze is certainly favouring the right of screen. That's a wasted opportunity. Into the man on the mark. Well done by Adam Goods, but it's come back North Melbourne's way. Here's Zeeble. Out for Mullet. He looks upfield, not a good kick. Out of Gibson's reach. Everett, handball backwards for Roberts Thompson. Close to the wing, just behind the wing when he kicked. They'll be happy to get this ball over the line, I reckon, Sydney. 2-on-1. O'Keefe a little overzealous.
Sitting on his head.
Yeah, free kick to Mullet. He'd like this time again because the last kick he had, he just failed to hit the target. That's the one area when North Melbourne had ascendancy in the game in the first half. Their kicking efficiency was still down.
Mullet, he's been a real player over the latter half of last season and the start of this year.
Baz, I'll take over.
Bird's just warming up down here, guys. He's taken the vest off, so they've activated their sub, the Swans. He'll be in there soon.
We might need Tom warming up here. Stand by, Tommy.
He's guzzling the water as we speak, Baz.
Have you dreamt of this moment? Ball out of bounds on the full. And the status quo remains for the time being. Sydney 16-10, North 10-13. Mullet again. Backwards to Grimer. for Rito. Over the top. They get the ball eventually inside to Atley from McMillan, and the short kick is a good one. Mark has been taken by Wright, so this now for a chance for 3 in a row to start this final term, and that's the spark, you'd say. 3 in a row would just give them that little bit of hope.
Well, there's plenty of time. Absolutely plenty of time.
Really patient build-up by North Melbourne too, just to move it around the 50 and give someone an opportunity to have a shot on goal.
So Sam Wright, he started as the sub. It starts on line, it drifted late, but North showing something here. They've kicked the last 3 of the game. It's back to 27 points.
Just held their structure really well now, North Melbourne. They set up across half-back. What the Swans have done, well, certainly trying to do that North failed to do in the last quarter. There's the sub there, Andreas Everett, the player off the bird, as they are getting a player back now. So Mark McVeigh absolutely spot on. Really smart, patient build-up. They're going to have to continue to do that if they're going to break the Swans down inside their forward 50. But Baz right back in the game, no doubt about it.
Sydney by 27 points. 47 points was their lead at 3/4 time. So 20 wiped off the deficit. And still over 13 minutes to play. Love the next one now. Malcheski trying to get in the road. Here's McMahon. He's been terrific today. Really tried hard. He's taken some important marks and got his body in the road a number of times.
It's so tough being an AFL coach. You're seeing a side that were just getting beat all over the ground 10 minutes ago, and now they've turned it right around and playing some good football, getting themselves back in the game.
Well, a bit unlucky there. Zeeble the throw. I think it's the correct call. He was just trying to get the ball moving at any cost, and well, he needed a little more care there, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the one over the top, just the creative handball where no doubt he punched the ball off his fist, but not enough for the umpy.
Malcheski's long kick, leaping from behind was Mumford. Goods and Parker there for Sydney, and on the bottom of that pack, McMahon again, as he's been so often. He's been a terrific defender this afternoon. Swallow. It's it out of bounds on the full.
Just watch the Sydney Swans sub Craig Bird. He came on last week against the Suns and got plenty of it. Really creative midfielder, great in traffic, could play a significant part in this last quarter.
Grundy called to play on O'Keefe. Goldstein, I reckon, a free kick.
Come back on. Hold there, mummy.
That's how the umps have seen it. So final quarter, still 12 minutes to play. 3 goals to Sydney haven't scored in this last term yet. We've played over 12 minutes. The breeze is certainly strong, and Andrew Walsh, we might just get a line from you on that breeze. Is it strengthened even more, do you think, in this last quarter?
Yeah, I think it has. We obviously saw in the third quarter is very favourable to the right-hand side of the screen, and it's definitely picked up. So it's working in the Kangaroos' favour. If they can get a couple more, they're right back in this.
Perhaps we underestimated it a little. It was dead calm to start the match. Now here's McGlynn. He's kicked 3 goals, going for number 4. The veterans just offline.
They've got the breeze here, North, as we've spoken about a lot. They just really need to take the game on. They don't have time to be, I guess, experimenting with the way that they play. They really need to continue what they did in that first half, which is use the ball off the line.
Thompson, a long kick down the line. You can see again with that breeze, that was probably a 75-metre kick. He just sat the ball on the breeze and almost on the wing now for this boundary throw-in.
Expect the Swans to play really slow, long percentage football and really drain the game out now.
Mumford worked his way to the front. Well done, Goldstein. And in fact, well done, Goldstein, all day. Going against both Pike and Mumford. He's been terrific. Zeeble. A bit unlucky there. He probably has a player sitting on his back under the interpretation of the rules. And
1 metre.
well, perhaps can consider himself a little bit unlucky. Kennedy dusts himself off. Well done, Swallow bursting his way through. I'm not sure how he got it out, but it did come out. Ends up with Bird, the sub for the Sydney Swans. Kick inside 50 for McGlynn. With him is Mullet. He gets the football back. He did that nicely. The give and get. McMahon's handball, that's a dangerous one. They've done that okay, though. Gathered now by Atley. Didn't really have anything to kick to, so he has a bounce. Assesses the options now. Gee, the mark not taken. The umpire down behind play. That was interesting. Collected by a player streaming through.
Lindsay Thomas, I think it was.
Yeah, it was just a little miscommunication between player and umpire, and now Nick Smith out for McVeigh. Right it was earlier that just couldn't hold the mark, and now Adam Good steadies things down. Sydney by 28 points.
Oh, that hurts. North Melbourne were out and about there. I think it was Sam Wright dropped the mark.
Yeah.
Just really takes the sting out of the tail.
Look inside 50. Mumford came probably third, maybe fourth man into that contest. Clearing kick by Grimer. It's a bouncing ball close to the line. And Richards, as he's done all afternoon, he's been right there every step of the way.
Do you expect when his time was at Essendon, Mark, Ted would turn into the player that he has become?
There was a lot of us at the club at the time that felt that we'd really miss him. He had that X factor about him in terms of that blind courage. Really defended really hard, never gives in, and very popular figure at the Essendon Footy Club along with the Swans, and he's certainly still very good friends with a lot of players at the Essendon Football Club.
He's done a great job on Petrie this afternoon. Hasn't kicked a goal, Drew Petrie. Just the 6 disposals. Nearly 16 minutes into the final term. Reid, that's a terrific grab.
And that's what Sam needs to do a lot more, doesn't he? That's what he can do. He's a super contested mark. Just need to see more of it.
Sends the ball long. You can see it hold up into the breeze. And McMahon, gee, he's been a really good player this afternoon.
Move it on, come
McMahon with 14 disposals, 10 of them contested possessions. Let's just check his marks. How many has he taken? He's taken just the 5 grabs, but they've been in big pressure situations, most of them, almost all of them in contested packs. So well done, Bastanak. Here's Parker. Bastanak left the footy behind. He kicks into the breeze. Vacant 50-metre. Tough one for Grimer here. He's got one of the best players of all time behind him. They worked the football across in the end. That was okay. They're not out of danger yet. Loose ball inside 50. Bolton arrives to tie it up, and the ball will be bounced.
They're just driving in there. The same names for the Sydney Swans. Jude Bolton had a very productive afternoon, Jude.
He'll be happy with his day's work, wouldn't he? 16 disposals, 4 goals to equal a career high. Holding the ball there.
Legal disposal. Took him on a legal disposal.
So another possession coming up for McMahon. So John Longmire not altogether pleased with what's unfolded in this final term. They're not home yet, Sydney. Mullet now in the back pocket. Well, North Melbourne just need to take it on now, don't they? They've got to run right, the fresh man. They work it across. Adams got it from Gibson. Here's Malcheski. It's coming back inside 50, and McGlynn out of his reach over the line for a throw-in.
They've had their chances, North Melbourne. They've got the game out into space and used the ball just not well enough. Some kicks to the feet of their teammates, just not efficient enough with their ball.
Swallow sharked that nicely. It was the big man Mumford that did the work for Rito. Well done with some dash out of the defensive 50. Big contest here. Petrie did brilliantly. 2 against 1. He's kept the football moving, and then Zeeble arrived. So no one inside the 50. Who's got the pace? Here's Thomas. Ball didn't bounce so kindly for him. He went to ground there, and it might be Roberts Thompson's free. Well, it is his free. I thought the umpire said high tackle there, but appeared to be below the knees. Either way, comes out Grundy's way. Got it from Smith. They just slow things down, the Sydney Swans. Adam Goods.
And that's that long percentage play, just slowing the ball right down, kicking to a contest, making sure that they keep possession of the football and frustrate North Melbourne.
Well, Sydney hang on here, and it's starting to look very much like they will. That'll be 7 in a row against North Melbourne. We talked at the top of the show, Tom, is 6 a hoodoo. Well, 7 in a row, that's a fair streak, isn't it?
Well, what they've done, and particularly after half-time, is just close down the uncontested ball for North Melbourne. And when North are up and about, they're doing that exceptionally well, and another win for the Swans in that area, it looks like.
And when you have a winning run against a team, do you just start to believe that you can beat them no matter what the situation?
Yeah, and we're seeing it unfold here, but not necessarily before the game starts. But once it starts to settle down and each side's work to their particular pattern, and these two sides do have very contrasting patterns that Sydney never would have fed out of the game. At half-time down by 14 points, thought, guys, we just need to tighten up, need to actually get on top of them one-on-one, and we'll crush them, and that's exactly what's happened.
If you take out Malcheski, O'Keefe, probably the only one of the big names for Sydney that doesn't have a goal alongside his name. Well, he has now. Sydney with their first of the final term, and that's going to make it very hard for North Melbourne. The Swans by 34 points.
And there's one of the Swans midfielders kicking another goal, and they're just so even across the park in terms of their midfield roles. They love getting out of centre clearance and then pushing forward and kicking goals.
It's a wonderful return, isn't it? McGlynn with 3, Bolton with 4, a couple for Hanbury, a couple for McVeigh, and then one for O'Keefe and Kennedy. That is pretty awesome, isn't it?
It's just great midfield depth. I mean, it's the envy of all the clubs in the competition. They've got a good balance of inside, outside mids. They're all as hard as nails, but silky smooth. And as Mark said, can go forward and kick goals.
And O'Keefe going right until the end for Rito. Here's Parker. He read that brilliantly. He looks upfield. Adam Goods lurking, and Adam Goods marks.
I'll tell you what, if we get another look at that, and you just see the Swans and the way they're obviously structured and taught how to play. Luke Parker was behind the play. The ball came in. He was just so predictable. Went to the front, got the front and square. Adam Goods held his ground back in the goals. We'll just see it here. Comes around. Could have stayed behind. Got to the right spot. Kicked to the open side of the ground, and that's fantastic.
Adam Goods has kicked a goal this afternoon. 14 disposals, 4 marks, including the one that results in missed shot on goal. His second, and Sydney now out to a 40-point lead.
Still a very valuable player. A couple of goals, 15 possessions. Great build-up play there by Luke Parker. Happy days for the Sydney Swans.
Best player on the field today will be awarded the Brent Croswell Medal. Brent, of course, from Tasmania, played 76 games for North Melbourne in the early 80s. And just to look at some of the candidates, well, there's plenty to choose from, isn't there? Kennedy up to 29 disposals, incidentally. Now, he started pretty quietly. He's got a goal to his name as well. McVeigh, Malcheski, and, of course, 4 goals from Jude Bolton. So could go to any number of players right now. Sends the ball inside 50, fisted away by the defence. Adams close to the line, couldn't control it. Right there with him is Matner. It'll be thrown in.
Well, the strength of the Swans so far in their games have been their midfield in the first game. The Brett Kirk medal was awarded to Kieran Jack for playing in the guts and kicking goals, and Ryan O'Keefe was very strong last week, as was McVeigh, and they've all been good again.
There's O'Keefe, bottom of the pack. Just a tireless worker, isn't he?
Teddy Richards could put his hand up for the medal, I think. He's had an outstanding game across half-back on Drew Petrie.
Reid slipped over as he went to go, wasn't off his line, so the umpire didn't wave play on. Now Jeddah, as we've mentioned, a pretty quiet afternoon. He's kicked a goal, just 7 disposals. This is his 8th. He kicks to the pocket, and Jack, ball bounces away from him, gathered by Atley. And that was a good mark at full stretch, taken by Hine. As you heard, call to go from the umpire. Thompson, strong mark. Just under 4 minutes remaining now. Sydney will be unbeaten to start the season. And, well, Tom, you know a little bit about premiership defences, and 3 and zip. Doesn't matter really how you win them. You get the 4 points times 3. That's a pretty good way to launch for a defence of the title.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Very hard thing to do, defend a premiership, because you hunt it every week. But when challenged at half-time, they lifted, kicked 11 goals in the second quarter, and put down your glasses.
McMahon's drifted forward here, and that's good use of the football by North Melbourne. Cunnington's marked, and he can have a shot on goal.
And Tom, where to now for North Melbourne? Obviously been in the game the last couple of weeks, and today struggled again in the second half. What do they do when they turn up to training on Monday, and where do they go?
Yeah, really disappointing, particularly the second half here. I think they've been beaten at the contest, so you go back to that, go back to outnumbering the opposition, which the Swans have given them a lesson to, so that's what I'd be focusing on this week.
Cunnington then for North Melbourne's 4th of the term, and he gets it. It's back to 34 points.
And there have been some bright lights. I think Cunnington's game was really solid. He spent a lot of time up forward. Of his 23 disposals, 16 of those contested. He's had 9 clearances and a couple of goals. I've really liked Mullet across half-back. Swallows kept going all day. Daniel Wells just having a spell. But it's been left to too few, I think, Spike. They just need to have a bit more, I guess, a bit more oomph, if you like, around the contest.
And their key forwards, Tarrant and Petrie, have been well done. Only had the 6 touches each, and found it really difficult to get their hands on the ball today, especially when it got inside 50.
Yeah.
Brisbane next week for North Melbourne at Etihad Stadium. That match on the Sunday. And the Sydney Swans, Friday night footy for them against Geelong. So a really big game coming up for the Sydney Swans, and well, as they do generally, they'll fancy their chances anywhere, anytime. Ball inside 50 from Hanbury. Oh, that's a great finish. Hanbury magnificent. Sydney get it back to a 40-point lead. Hanbury has 3.
And what that highlights is the Swans have superior fitness, don't they? We don't often mention that, but 2 minutes to go in the last quarter. Hanbury still bursting from a stoppage. He's running hard, gets on the end of a handball and nails a goal. They really have got their fitness in the right frame of mind. They've got their fitness staff teaching him the right way to play this game that we all love.
Yeah, picking up some really good form going into, as Baz mentioned, a big game next Friday night at the SCG against the Cats, and they'll be going in with some really good form, and particularly in the midfield. So at this point in time in the season, 3-zip. Certainly take that. Brad Scott back to the drawing board for the Kangas at zip 3.
North just 1 goal into the breeze in the 3rd term. Sydney, by contrast, 3 goals into the breeze in this final term. They have been outscored though. North 4-2, Sydney 3-1. Long shot from inside 50. Well, it was a kick with some depth from right. Maybe just had a little bit too much on it. Made the marking contest pretty difficult for Hansen. And Roberts Thompson with the spoil. Malcheski asked to go. So just a little kick to himself. Outside defensive 50, Grimer. McVeigh's been terrific. Back to Hanbury. Here's O'Keefe. So all the stars getting involved in this passage of play. O'Keefe's kick into space for perhaps the biggest star of them all, Adam Goodes, at full stretch sliding. It was spectacular. He couldn't hang on to the football. And the clearing kick by Mullet, not a bad one. Gibson marks in the back pocket. Here's Ferrito. He's run down from behind by Benny McGlynn. McGlynn can shoot for his 4th.
He's often the pop-up sprinkler as a forward. He comes from nowhere, picks up 3 or 4 goals, but then on that occasion he's popped up again for the tackle, and he's had a great day, Ben McGlynn, and it's great to see him playing really good football to start the year off.
And as he just chipped it over to Parker, who'll have another shot on goal. But that's what Benny McGlynn adds to the Sydney Swans, that pressure from the forward half. When players are thinking they're in the clear, he runs them down from behind and turns the ball over. He's so important to their footy club.
Couple of goals last week for Luke Parker. This to make it 2 for consecutive weeks, and he's done just that. Sydney's lead now out to a massive 45 points. The reigning premiers looking the goods.
He's been a solid player again, Luke Parker. He's, I guess, not playing for one of the big Victorian clubs. He's come into the Swans. He fits their culture absolutely superbly. There's the tackle again from McGlynn, but he's learning off the best inside mids in the game. He won best and fairest after best and fairest as a kid in his junior football, came through the AS Academy. The Swans wrapped to get him when they did middle part of the draft, and really good story for the Swans.
Speaking to Jared in regards to Parker, he finds one of the hardest players at their club. He's just so tough and so resilient.
So final minute of this game then, and it's going to be the Sydney Swans unbeaten to start 2013. Wins over GWS and the Gold Coast, the expansion teams, and now a big win against North Melbourne, who would have fancied their chances coming down here to Hobart. And now for North Melbourne, by contrast, it's going to be 3 losses in a row. Collingwood, Geelong, and now the Sydney Swans. I mean, they've been very fair teams that they've played, obviously. So they've been unlucky there. I think what will get North is the fact that they were in winning positions, probably in all 3 of them, certainly to half-time in this game, and without doubt deeper into the previous 2.
It's a kick around the body. That's a great effort. A wonderful shot on goal by Thomas. And Thomas with a consolation goal late.
It's always a bit of a hollow feeling, that one, isn't it? When you get the goal late, you know your team's been comprehensively beaten. Nick Smith, in my view, has done the job on Lindsay Thomas exceptionally well. He's had a tough day, but important he did get on the board, but it really has been all about the Swans, and particularly this second half. And consolation goal, I guess, for North, but a little bit too late, unfortunately.
And some real positives in terms of the individual players. I think Mullet's had a really good game. The 27 disposal, Cunnington the 23, and they're two young players that North Melbourne can really rely on for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
So Thomas now with 3 goals after that effort to the right of screen, and that might just about do it for scoring this afternoon. North Melbourne terrific early, but the Sydney Swans with an outstanding third term. They kicked 11 goals for to 1 goal 3, and they are unbeaten to start the season after 3. Sydney by 39 points, 20-11. North Melbourne 13-14. Time now for 7 News.